All right, so Georgia pulled off a marginal victory on Saturday afternoon on CBS. I was watching at the Innisfree Irish Pub here in Tuscaloosa, munching on some pub fries. It was a wonderful experience and atmosphere there at Innisfree. They had it all over the TVs. The audio was great, but it was a very entertaining game. And I'll be honest when I say that I entertained the notion of making a pick video about this game last week, and I wrestled with that idea, but ultimately I decided against it because I couldn't conjure up enough plausible reasons as to why Auburn would compete with, or better yet, defeat Georgia in my video. So I ultimately ended up abandoning the concept and I stuck with the two videos that I made last week. But there was just something internally that was telling me that this was going to be a competitive and entertaining game. It reminded me a lot of Alabama traveling to Texas A&M back in 2021. I reference that game a lot. That game is like imprinted in my mind for some reason because it is just when I think of upsets, that is like a textbook upset. You have a number one team going into an opposing atmosphere. You're traveling. You're on the road. You're going against a team who had been battered around, who was trying to build themselves back up again and was hungry for a statement win. That's what Texas A&M was, and that's what Auburn felt like they were on Saturday. They're coming off of that loss against Texas A&M the previous week, and a lot of people were already writing Auburn off. There were a lot of Auburn doubters out there, and Auburn just kept on gathering and gathering that as motivation. And you see it time and time again, a team that has a loss or multiple losses, depending on the time of year, coming off of a loss and hosting a top five team, a lot of times those teams will have the edge because that atmosphere will be turned. It's like their Super Bowl, and it had like a playoff game feel at Jordan Hare on Saturday. Like they really wanted to dethrone Georgia, and at one point they really had the capability to do so, and you just felt that in the air. The recipe was there, the ingredients were there. Georgia was just able to pull it off in the end, but this game left, even though that recipe was in place, this game left a lot of people questioning Georgia's competitiveness in the field of college football playoff contenders, if you will. Because there's been a couple times this year where they've looked rather clunky. And grant that game was weird, but there had been several others this year where it took some time for that offense to really get going. You saw it in that South Carolina game they predicted a couple weeks ago in the hedges. It took them a while to get the Pistons pumping. If you watch the NFL closely, there's another team who's struggling with the same issue right now. A team that's coming off of a fantastic year last year and is looking to sustain the same level of greatness that they experienced last season. The Philadelphia Eagles. They're 4-0, they're undefeated, just like Georgia is undefeated right now. But for some reason, a lot of people are still questioning them because they've looked clunky, because their wins don't feel the same. It doesn't have that vintage Georgia, that vintage Eagles win that just reeks of dominance. There's been some holes. There's been some vulnerability. And a lot of it is on the offensive side of the ball. Both teams have been great defensively, but a lot of it lies on the offensive side of the ball. What can you identify as the reason for that for both teams? Both teams had fantastic seasons last year. What happens when you have a fantastic season? Guys in your coaching staff get plucked. Both teams in particular got their offensive coordinators plucked. Shane Steichen, now the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, was the Eagles' offensive coordinator last year, and Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator of Georgia last year, is now Lamar Jackson's OC in Baltimore. Those are huge losses for both those teams because you've got to go out, you've got to hire a new guy, and so when you have a new coordinator, it takes a while. Like you have the preseason. I talked about this in the Ohio State video last week. Like you have the preseason, you have fall camp, you have summer practices, 7-on-7s, and that's only so much time as an offensive coordinator to get acquainted with your guys, to get acquainted with a new system, a new staff around you, a new building, a new facility, a new town. New opportunity. Mike Bobo, the new offensive coordinator for Georgia. He's still getting on the same page with the rest of the coaching staff, with his guys on offense. He's still getting on the same page, and you see that they're working out the kinks right now. It's clunky. You've seen that with Philly. with their new offensive coordinator, working out the kinks. It takes time, but for that reason, I'm not panicking about Georgia just yet. They seemed to find rhythm in the fourth quarter. It was clunky for the first 3 quarters. So I was watching that game like, man, Auburn really may pull this off. And then what did Georgia find? What was their secret recipe? Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers. He, number 19, single-handedly took that game into his own hands in the fourth quarter. It was phenomenal to watch. Like, I was watching greatness unfold right before my very eyes. Some of those plays he's able to play off, that catching a ball with one hand, turning around, getting the first down. I mean, just literally taking the game into his own hands. Phenomenal play by Brock Bowers. 157 yards of receiving for a tight end is unheard of. But I recall watching the post game of the 49ers Giants game a couple weeks ago, and I remember George Kittle talking about how he walked up to Brock Purdy during the game and was like, "Hey, bro, just throw it to me. Just throw it to me. I'm gonna catch it. If there's guys on me, don't worry about it. I'm gonna catch it." Brock Bowers has that same kind of confidence, and I wonder if he's walked up to Carson Beck and said that, "Hey man, throw it to me. I'm gonna be open. You know, we're in crunch time right now. There's urgency. Throw it to me. I got you." And that's exactly what Carson Beck did. Whether he said that or not, that's exactly what Carson Beck did. He knew it instinctually. This is the guy we got to throw to. Crunch time, you throw to that tight end. You know, like Brady throwing to Gronk in New England. Like Patrick Mahomes on the Travis Kelce now. You go to that tight ends. And that recipe was there yesterday. My only concern is, will they become too dependent on Brock Bowers? And you have somebody generational in your building. You know, like Alabama had it. When you have a player as great as Bryce Young in your building, Ohio State had it with C.J. Stroud. Will you be dependent on them? Will you be overly dependent on them to where your identity is rooted in them, in their performance, in their execution? Or can you rely on them in dire times and know how to evenly distribute the rock to other players throughout the game? That's what I'm waiting to see from Georgia. Will they overly depend on him? Because as great as he is, there will be teams out there. Will they be in the SEC East or not? I don't know. But there will be teams out there who will be able to crack that code. So, can Georgia muster up more of an identity outside of him? They do have other great receivers. I'm a huge fan of Ladd McConkey. You know, they have other great targets on that offense. Will they be able to incorporate them more into the game plan throughout the game and find more consistency when it comes to that? For now, you know that when that tire is stuck in the mud and you're spinning and you're hitting the gas, you know that Brock Bowers is that gear shifting you to get you out of the mud. You know that for now. So Auburn, ultimately Auburn has always been known as a physical team historically. That when they're in a position like they were yesterday, they're hosting a top 5, top 10 team. They've been known to hold historically great teams to low point totals. They did it to LSU and Joe Burrow years ago. They did it yesterday. I don't know how great this Georgia team is. That's another thing. Kirby Smart came out and said yesterday, I don't really know how good this team is. I didn't really know how to take that. You know, I like honesty. You know, I was in a frenzy when Justin Fields gave a little bit of honesty to the media a couple weeks ago when he talked about the coaching staff. I think Kirby Smart gave a little dose of honesty. As a player, I don't have to take that as motivation. I don't know if that's like, whoa, coach, what are you trying to say here? But nonetheless, he came out and he said it. He was very honest. And I, quite frankly, I don't know how good this team is either. Time will tell. All I'm saying is, right now, let's not hit the panic button. I don't know if this is a great team or not. Let's hit the panic button. No, this is a team that has won 2 straight national championships. Historically, those teams, when they continue to recruit at a high level as Georgia has been and continues to do, those teams historically find a way. But it remains to be seen. So there's a lot of truth in what Kirby Smart said. We really don't know how great this team is. Don't sell your Georgia stock yet, but don't invest more. Kind of just watch how this thing is going to unfold and don't succumb to rash conclusions. I will say, too, there's a challenging road, a lot more challenging of a road ahead of Georgia than expected. There are a lot of people saying that Georgia has a vanilla schedule going into this year. And partially, I agreed. But I'm watching some of these SEC East teams play. Kentucky looks a lot better than expected. Missouri, the Tigers. They look better than expected. They're still undefeated at this point. Is it bullish to say that Tennessee may not be the most challenging team remaining on Georgia's schedule? That remains to be seen. But Missouri and Kentucky? Missouri challenged Georgia last year, and Missouri didn't even have a great team last year. Missouri is much improved. They're on Georgia's schedule. Grant, they're going, in between the hedges. That'll be a challenge, but I think that they're equipped to have a great game against Georgia. So Georgia may have a loss this year, and that's okay. You learn from losses. Alabama had a loss in 2021. They learned from it and returned to the national championship. When I say that they may have a loss, it's no big deal. They may have to experience that to build character, build that sense of resiliency so that they can survive and advance the college football playoff. But we're going to see how this season unfolds. Did Georgia find a sense of rhythm on Saturday? Or will they have to continue to muster that up as the season unfolds? I can't wait to watch it all. The storylines this season have been amazing, and this is just yet another one that's developing. Have a great day. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you and the time that you took out of your day to watch the video. And if you enjoyed it, please be sure to like the video and share it, as well as subscribe to The Era. The more likes and subscribers I get on this channel, the more resources I can attain, and the more resources I can attain, the more value I can provide to you, the viewer. And that is how I show my appreciation for you for the time that you devote to watching my videos. So thank you so much, and have a great day.